This is Graham Weimiller, Chairman and CEO of BNI, and welcome to BNI's Restart the World. I want to say a special welcome to BNI members, leaders, and guests from around the world. Thank you for joining this terrific program today. You know, BNI is helping businesses in 70 countries around the world. We're helping them sustain their growth through 2020 and beyond. And so this program is really dedicated to all of the business leaders around the world who are focused on sustaining their businesses and their communities. And I want to especially thank BNI's national directors for co-sponsoring this Restart the World event. Their leadership is important and very appreciated, and their support for this important Restart the World program is really appreciated by me personally as well. So BNI this year alone has generated nearly $10 billion in closed business. That is members supporting other members in 70 countries around the world. That nearly $10 billion just this year alone has come from 7 million valuable new client referrals. And so I want to congratulate all BNI members around the world for this impressive achievement just this year so far. And so this year is a challenging year for businesses across the globe. The International Monetary Fund has called this the worst economic decline since the Great Depression of the 1930s. If we don't look for a new path, we may see a contraction in global GDP of over 5%. If we don't pick a new path, we could see a record high number of bankruptcies this fall. And so Restart the World is about that new path. And so we are really honored that you have joined us today for this program. And so the Restart the World program is all about businesses collaborating around the world to help each other grow throughout 2020 and beyond. BNI represents 270,000 purpose-driven business leaders across 70 countries who meet every single week to support each other and to build lifelong relationships. And so it is my honor as part of this Restart the World program to now introduce Dr. Ivan Misner, founder and chief visionary for BNI. Dr. Misner founded BNI 35 years ago with a vision of changing the way the world does business. He is a well-known speaker and author. He is known as the father of modern business networking. He's a mentor and a friend to so many of us. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ivan Misner to lead the program from here. Dr. Misner?
Thank you so much, Graham. I appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate everything you've done for the organization and for small businesses around the world, especially during this really challenging year. So let's get started. To restart is to reset, reopen, reboot, relaunch. This is the right mindset that we need to be in right now. Now, antonyms for restart, words that are the opposite, are to cut, discontinue, quit, abandon. These are words and feelings that I think will get in our way if we want to pierce the dark clouds of apprehension that are all around us. These words need to be cut from our mindset to truly restart the world. We need to engage in the right mindset and to reopen, reboot, relaunch. I believe that's the right mindset. And I believe that one can take unprecedented circumstances and turn them into unprecedented success. We do that through self-reflection, creating a future picture in our mind, and listening to our mentors. I want to talk for a moment about a concept in adult education called transfer of learning. It is a theory that learning can be transferred and applied in totally new and innovative ways to different situations. Most importantly, it's about taking ideas and applying them to your situation or challenge. Think of transfer of learning as a briefcase full of ideas that are given to you. The briefcase is given to you. Now take that briefcase with you, open it up, and apply some of those ideas to your situation through self-reflection and contemplation. Through this process of self-reflection after this event today, you can find ways to apply concepts that you hear and transfer them to your individual situation. That's how programs like Restart the World work best. These are events that act like a catalyst for you to apply the ideas that you hear through programs like this by recognizing patterns or possible situations that enable you to think outside of your traditional thinking. You're the person who knows how to apply ideas that you're going to hear today to your situation, and that requires reflection after this event. The truth is that if you do things the way you've always done them, you're likely to struggle in the future. It's okay to be in love with what you do, but if you're in love with how you do it right now, you might become irrelevant. You've heard me say before that I refuse to participate in a recession. Well, today I'd like to introduce you to 3 other people who refuse to participate in a recession. These 3 top BNI global business leaders are passionately committed to restarting the world. They're here today to share their vast expertise and business insights. Our first panelist, Mac Srinivasan, represents Asia Pacific. He's the president of global markets for BNI. Mac supports operations for BNI company-run countries. He is a certified franchise executive recognized by the International Franchise Association. Mac's BNI leadership journey began as an executive director in BNI in Bangalore. He was invited to lead the BNI India operations 4 years ago, and the country is now one of the fastest growing in BNI. BNI India has grown from 9,800 members to 36,000 members in a short span of 4 years. His vision is to impact over 1 million entrepreneurs to transform their business by December 2029. Next, representing the Americas is Lorena Medina. She has been BNI Mexico's national director since November of 2005. She's been the BNI market manager for Latin American affairs. And in this role, she has supported BNI Latin American countries through her leadership, training, and counseling. Lorena completed her certified franchise executive credential in less than 1 year. By the way, that's pretty rare. Currently, BNI Mexico has over 125 chapters and almost 4,400 members. From the last speaker that I'll be introducing today from the Middle East and Africa, we have on our panel BJ Shah. BJ is the National Director for BNI in the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, and Co-National Director for BNI Kenya and Uganda. In the last 15 years, he's won numerous BNI CEO awards for outstanding performance. He holds a bachelor's degree in banking and finance from the University of Wales and a master's degree in finance from the City University in London. BJ is recently also qualified as a certified franchise executive from the International Franchise Association. This is definitely a very, very diverse panel representing a large portion of the world. So let's get started with our discussion with a simple question for all 3 of you. If you could simply state in a sentence or 2, what's the one thing a business can do right now to restart their business and to refuse to participate in a recession? And Lorena, I'd love to start with you.
Thank you, Ivan. I think that the most important thing they could do right now is to, and you mentioned it in your introduction, get a mentor. I think that that's exactly what pushed me through and made me turn around and continue with this business. If it had been only me, I would have just sat down on the curb and started crying. So but it was thanks to this network of mentors that I have around the world that I was able to move forward and be successful with BNI online.
Great. Let's come back to that. BJ, in a sentence or two, what's your recommendation?
Thank you, Ivan. I would say reframe. So reframing is about looking at a situation and then looking at our capabilities and then looking at all of that differently. So what are we doing right now? What are our capabilities? How can we do it differently?
And we'll come back to that. Mac, in a sentence or two, what do you think people can do?
I think they need to rebuild or build relationships and re-engage with the people that are the customers again. And I think that's important.
Excellent. All right, so let's go back and spend about a minute each. Lorena, you said mentors, that was really important to you. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think it was crucial. I've always said that I went through all the stages of grief during this period. At first I was angry, then I was in denial, and all of them. So when I finally got to the stage of acceptance, I decided I'm gonna reach out to my network, and what Mac was saying is so important. We have been rebuilding relationships with all of our colleagues from around the world. This is the time when we need them. So I reached out to all my colleagues with the ones that I have a very close relationship with, and somehow we found a way to figure it out. We got the best practices on how to make this work, and it made a huge difference for me. And it could work with any type of business. Reach out to your colleagues from other parts of the world and find out what they're doing.
Yeah, and get their advice. Great suggestion.
Exactly.
BJ, you talked about reframing. Talk about that a little more.
Yeah, I'll share a couple of examples of how I've seen some of our members do that. One of our members, his other business is a brewery. He actually just recently launched a brewery making beer and spirits in Uganda. And this was just literally a few months before the whole pandemic situation broke out. So here you are, brand new brewery, invested lots of money, and then you got this situation nobody predicted. But he was very quick to look at the situation. He said, okay, what are my capabilities? I've got a bottling line. I've got the key ingredient to make sanitizer, which is required in the new situation. And he literally pivoted his line. All the pubs and the bars and everything was shut. So obviously there was no demand for the beer that it was making. That's what it did. Very successful. And another quick one is a member who traditionally does team building, in-person team building activities. And what she was able to do was reframe that, her capability. She had a team which can really help people doing team building exercises. She pivoted online. And the great thing is, she now realizes that her audience, her target market is not just limited to where she's based, but it's beyond. The whole world is now open to her, and she's actually getting inquiries from different countries for what she does. It's amazing.
Those are two great examples. And I actually know someone who's also in the event planning industry. They always said it's impossible to do this online. Guess what? They now have international clients that they never had before because they made that pivot. So that's a great suggestion, BJ. I appreciate it. Mac, you talked about re-engaging. Well, I think that's an important one.
Yeah, re-engaging with clients is very important, because what happens is some of our clients that we have recently done business with, just to check on them. Hey, how are you doing? It's not like going back and asking them for business necessarily, but if they make a list of clients that have done business with them in the last 6 months, maybe a year ago, they did a good work for them. And just sending a text message and re-engaging. Like even today, I got a WhatsApp message from a vendor that I used about 3-4 years ago. And I was surprised. Oh, wow. I just got a message from him. I said, wow, he's just checking on me, just saying how things are going with me. And if things are going good here. So just re-engaging, getting yourself made visible right now, and you're rebuilding that relationship, because the first stage in restarting the world is re-engaging with your client.
Yeah. So Lorena talked about mentors. I think mentors are so incredibly important. I really believe in that. BJ, reframing, and Mac, re-engaging. When you're listening to this is a briefcase. Information. As you're listening to this, take some of these ideas and apply them to yourself. A lot of what we talk about often is simple, but it's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would do the 3 things that Lorena, BJ, and Mac just said. You would do it, and you would do it consistently. It's that consistent application of ideas like this that I think are absolutely critical. Great answer, you guys. Second question that I'd like to ask at least 2 of you. how important is attitude in making your business successful? I think positive attitude is really critical, but how important is attitude? And let's start this question with Mac.
Positive attitude is like it's like a magnet. That's what draws people over to you. So one of the things in the positive attitude is surrounding yourself with people that re-energize you, because most of the days now we keep listening to news, things that are draining our battery. We have to surround ourselves with either folks that are having a positive attitude, so we get energized, listening to music that energizes you, or maybe reading a book, because people are drawn to you only when you have positive attitude. And it's very important for us to guard what we surround ourselves with, and then display a sense of positive attitude, a sense of confidence. And that's when people start getting, re-engaging with you and building the relationship back.
And Mac, I think some people hear that and they go, yeah, right, positive attitude. But you can't underestimate the power of that. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I tried to take all negativity out of my life. I think one of the reasons I was able to go into remission as quickly as I did was that I really tried to focus on solutions and a positive attitude. Really, really important. Thanks. Lorena, what are your thoughts?
I agree 100% with Mac. It is like a magnet. And we also need to make a difference between positive attitude and just blind optimism.
Yeah.
Because to me, positive attitude it's having a balance between looking at the situation the way it is. It's perfectly acceptable to say, this is not that fantastic, but at the same time, what are we going to do about it? To me, that's positive attitude. To not ignore what's in front of you and to acknowledge that it might not be that great, but what are we going to do about it? Are we going to sit down and cry? Or are we going to find a solution? So to me, that is the framework, and that's the main difference between someone that's just an optimist no matter what, and someone that actually acknowledges the situation and does something about it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. There's a book I recommend to people. It's called Solutions Focus. It was written by a friend of mine in the United Kingdom, Mark McCurgow. And he says, look, if all you do is focus on problems, you become an expert at problems. What you have to do is focus on solutions. And so that positive attitude that Lorena is talking about here is about a positive attitude to focusing on solutions. Great observation, Lorena. Okay, next question. What is the most interesting trend that you've seen in 2020, which will help restart the world? And BJ, I'd like you to take this one.
Sure. I recently read a report which was telling us that the rate of take-up, talking about e-commerce, for example, what we've achieved in the last 90 days is equivalent to what we've achieved in the last 10 years. So literally in 90 days, the rate of people going online, for all their commerce, for the purchases has doubled. Whatever happened in 10 years, they were able to do that in 90 days. And naturally, given the situation that we've been forced into, remote working, lockdown, and all of that. So it's really embracing technology and the whole thing about digitalization and automation. I think BNI Online is a classic example, because what it's really done is pushed us into a situation where we actually had to adapt. And the amazing thing is it's kept businesses going and all of that. But most interestingly, when we now talk to some of our members, they say that, when we go back to the new normal, yes, we'd love to go back in person and everything else, but they can see how this technology is really going to help them to do other stuff. It cuts down on the travel, on the costs. I'm hearing some companies now saying, all those travel budgets are going to go down. So it may not be great news for certain businesses, but it definitely makes sense. So those are some examples. I mean, personally for us, there were some things that we had the processes using paper, and we always say to ourselves, we're going to have to change this and make it paperless. And it took us, a few years. And when this happened, literally in a matter of weeks, we were able to go totally paperless. And the amazing thing is the results we're getting, the turnaround times in all our processes is even more amazing. So digitization and automation, I think, is one of those trends which really across every industry is making a big impact.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I'll jump in on this and have a few comments as well. I think the genie's out of the bottle on technology, certainly as it applies to networking. The integration of technology into networking is, in my opinion, a fait accompli. It's here to stay. Ironically, I wrote an article on this 2 years ago for entrepreneur.com. If you go to entrepreneur.com, you can find it. I talked about the future of face-to-face is online. And I think that, I was talking about it being 5 to 10 years down the road because of technology. Certainly didn't see COVID coming, but I think that this has forced us, as you said, to do this quicker than we anticipated. Let me tell you a really quick story. I went to an event earlier in the year in January before the great pause, and there was a futurist there. His name is David Houle, and David said he was driven to the event by a driver, a professional driver, and the driver was taking phone calls for bookings. And he said to the driver, he said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing this online? Because, doing it online, you don't have to interrupt, as you're driving, and you've got your, you don't have to open up your calendar and figure it out while you're trying to drive." And he said, no, I couldn't do it online. That just would never work. And David was like, "Oh my goodness, so many companies are already doing this online. And you're refusing to do this." And I think we're going to see companies who refuse to change going out of business, and companies who are willing to recognize that change is on its way, it's here, are going to be more successful. Thanks very much, BJ. Next question. What are some of the common misconceptions that people have about networking during this time? And how can we combat these misconceptions? Lorena?
Oh my God. I would have to say that the most evident one is that, oh no, networking is not going to work online. I was the first one who said that when we first went online. I was, this is crazy. What are we doing? How can we go online? This is not going to work. It's not the same. And then it was actually the members, our networkers, are the ones that changed my mind. Because they started inviting me to their meetings. So today I can say that I have visited almost half my chapters, and I couldn't do that before because they are all over the place. And I've been engaging with a lot of our members. I love talking with them in doing the open networking. And I would have to say that I encountered this lifelong member in Mexico. He has been in the organization for 10, 11 years. And he's an older guy. And I was so afraid about how he felt that change was for him, because he has been doing networking in person for such a long time. And he said, when he saw me during the open networking section, "Yeah, I cannot believe we didn't think about this before. This is awesome. I get to wake up later and I don't have to pay for breakfast. This is amazing. And I have the same results." He loved it. And yeah, so it was the members who actually convinced me that this was a great alternative to do networking. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think so. I think the genie's out of the bottle. Some variation is definitely here to stay, especially as technology advances. And what about one-to-ones? Aren't they so much easier doing one-to-ones online, on a Zoom or Skype or whatever platform?
And I used to say, no, none of that. It doesn't count as a one-to-one if you do it online. I was crazy.
I was guilty of that too. And I think, I still think in-person's the best. It really is. Shaking someone's hand when it's safe, having a conversation with them, sitting with them, having a cup of coffee or just, a meal and talking is still the most powerful. But we have found that this process is certainly working. Like I said earlier, you can be in love with what you do, but if you're committed to being in love with the way you do it, you may possibly become irrelevant. And we need to network differently now. We need to do business differently. I want you to think about, how can you do business differently? Just not just, but how can you do business differently? Because we're going to need to do that as time goes on. Okay, next question. And I'm going to ask BJ and Mac to jump in on this one. What is one piece of practical advice that you would give someone starting out with their networking efforts today? BJ?
Yes. If somebody's starting out in networking, I would think, they're new. They're probably doing it for a reason. Most people would do it because they think, right, I'm in business or I'm in sales, I want to grow my business. So they have this notion that, right, I need to go out and meet lots and lots of new people. I would say to you, if you're new to this, it doesn't necessarily mean meeting new people. What it actually means is building and deepening your relationships. Start with that first. Look at the network that you already have, the relationships that you already have. So you may have a few customers, you may have some suppliers, you may even, of course, have your friends. Reach out to them and see if you can have a different conversation that you normally do with them. Get to know them better, ask them about their aspirations, what are they proud of, what other interests do they have, and what challenges are they facing. And when you have enough of those conversations with different people over time, what you'll find is you'll be able to start connecting the dots. You come across people who might have a solution for other people who are facing challenges, and you connect the two. So you're going in there really just to build those relationships, see if you can help people, you become a connector, and then you're on your way to becoming a professional networker. Because once you do that, you kind of become the go-to person. And you haven't even made any new connections. You've just deepened and gotten to know your existing relationships better. And then you get comfortable meeting new people and doing the same with those people. So that would be my tip. You don't have to go out and start making new relationships.
Yeah, it's a great recommendation. Being a connector, I think, is the cornerstone of being an effective networker. Great suggestion, BJ. Mac, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so if somebody's starting on networking now, I would encourage them to define their objective first. What's the purpose of their networking? What type of network they need to choose? Are they there for just social? Do they want a social network? Are they just looking at a health type of network, or is it a business network? And once they define that, Ivan, I've always heard you say this is network. It's not net sit. It's not net heat. So they have to dedicate time, allocate in their calendar, maybe 2-3 hours a week, because without that, they're not going to achieve their objective. And finally, once they have the network or they start networking, they need to network smart, and they should not network hard. Networking smart means finding out who's in connection with your target market, and then having like a one-to-one, a virtual one-to-one with those people first. In BNI, we call them contact spheres or power teams. So if we start networking first with the people that are in contact with the target market, it makes life so much more easier and smarter way to do it. So back to you, Ivan.
Yeah, great points, Mac. Very good. All right, another question. What is the biggest challenge you're currently seeing with business owners, and how can they overcome that challenge? Let's start with Lorena.
The horse paradigm. Let me explain.
Yeah.
Horses, like most animals, don't have the same conception of time as we do. They do not remember what happened in the past, and they don't know what's going to happen later. Let me explain. They have a pain right now. They have colic, and all they know is that it hurts right now. They don't remember that yesterday it didn't hurt, and they don't know that tomorrow is not going to hurt. So I would say adopt this paradigm. We cannot keep clinging to what we used to be, because it's more likely than not we're not going back to that, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So let's make it work today. The biggest challenge that I've seen in business owners today is that they are either clinging to the past and longing to go to what it was, or they are hoping and waiting for it to get better in the future. I would say it needs to work today. You need to think like the horse. It hurts right now. Fix it. Make it work.
Oh, Lorena, I love that paradigm. I've never heard that before. It's a great concept. I couldn't agree more. I've been saying, I like your version of it better, but I've been saying to people, we really right now we need to be comfortable with discomfort, because we don't have the answers. We know the challenges. We're working on the answers, but we don't have all the answers right now. And I think most of us around the world in whatever business, we don't have all the answers. So I will quote Lorena Medina in the horse paradigm in the future for people. I would agree that willingness to change is probably one of the biggest problems that I see businesses having right now. I recently had a chapter president ask me, about a member who he just doesn't want to get online. And I told her, I said, tell him this. And I don't usually say, tell him Ivan said, but for her, I said, tell him Ivan said he hates change. I do, I hate change. I really hate change. But the only thing I hate more than change is failure. I hate change. I hate failure way more than change. So he can either change or fail. The choice is his. You can't make him change. That's what I told her. You can't make him change. He's got to be willing to do it. But you offer to be there for him, offer to help him to support him through this process so that he can get the change. And by the way, I think that's what BNI is about. BNI is about helping, supporting people through challenges and through good times as well. But I think that's the secret, is we got to learn how to address and accept the changes that we have, otherwise known as the horse paradigm. I love that, Lorena. Okay. For one reason or another, one last question, for one reason or another, many businesses have had serious financial challenges, obviously, during the COVID, and of course the recession that most countries are going into. I want all three of you to chime in on this. What advice do you have for the people who have challenges right now? Let's start with BJ.
I would say, of course, if you're in BNI, or if you're not, see what network you have out there. The best of the human species that's come out right now, people are there to help each other. We want to collaborate. We want to help. You reach out to people, people understand, when you share your challenges, when you share your problems. So I think if you can just reach out and ask for help. And then all the things that we've just discussed, you need to re-engage, go back to those relationships. See what else you can do about your business, reframe, pivot, get a mentor, get some mentors, and it's all there for us. So I think it's a matter of now opening that briefcase and saying, okay, what over here is it that can we do? And that will help. So it's really just getting out there and doing that.
Great suggestions. Lorena, what are your thoughts?
We've been talking a lot about positive attitude. So let's assume that you're already there. Okay, I'm positive. What's next? To me, it would be going back to what we were talking before and what Vijay was saying about mentoring. And also, you have to realize that there are thousands of people around the world that do the same thing that you do. Maybe there are restaurant owners, event planners, travel agents. There are thousands around the world. There are thousands in BNI that you could reach out to. Somebody somewhere has an answer for you on how to pivot, how to restart, how to keep your business going. Reach out to those people, get a mentor that does the same thing that you do, and come up with something together. This is something that was done it started in Mexico, and they got together with all the travel agents in Latin America. They get together once a week, and they come up with plans, with solutions. They're teaching each other how to market and how to bring people to their specific destination. So I'm teaching you how to sell Mexico, and Chile is teaching me how to sell Chile. So they're making a lot of, they're creating this network of travel agents in the whole region, and they're coming up with ways in which they can market and still keep their business open today. There's someone out there that already has figured it out. Just reach out to them. And also there's a lot of potential inside your group. If you belong to a group of business owners like BNI, there's your advisory group. Reach out to them, seek advice. I mean, if you're probably going through something that they have already lived through in the past. So there's a lot of intelligence, collective intelligence inside your BNI group, in the whole organization. Someone somewhere has the answer. Just reach out, just ask for help. That'll be the first thing that I would do.
That's a great point, Lorena. And I think sometimes people say, well, you didn't tell me what I need to do. And the truth is, we can't tell you what you need to do. That's the whole concept of the transfer of knowledge that I was talking about, that we can tell you, we can give you 30,000 foot views, we can give you some suggestions, but you need to take these ideas and reflect on them and talk to people in your industry, just like Lorena was saying, and find out how you can apply these ideas we're talking about to your profession. Mac, You have the last word.
Thank you, Ivan. And just like Lorena and what BJ said, I think pivoting is very important now. One of the examples I recently, I met an events manager recently, one of our BNI members, and part of his events was, when they have exhibition booths in the old days, they used to have a barcode scanner and technology that used to track people who attended the events. He utilized that same technology now for contact tracing. He realized that events is and the traditional world of events are no longer going to happen for some more time. So he moved, and he's now providing solutions to businesses that need contact tracing to be done, or registration process done for events. So having an open mind, many business owners that I see now are completely like a deer in the headlights. They know their business is going down. They're not looking at other changes. But like Lorena was mentioning, we have a fantastic pool of resources in BNI, in our chapters, and just sitting down, brainstorming, and then new ideas will emerge if we have an open mind to it. I love the way that how our event manager, completely transitioned into his application and his business. So that's where we're just going with an open mind. I think Ivan will help us all.
Great. Well, listen, I really appreciate the great suggestions that all three of you have provided today. And I also appreciate you taking the time to be here for everyone. For those watching, you've just gotten a briefcase of information to help you restart the world. Now it's up to you. It's important for you to reflect on these ideas and really think about how you will apply them to your own personal situation. Now, what I'd like to do is turn it over to BNI's CEO, Graham Weimiller, who has a few comments, announcements, and will close out today's event. Graham?
Really terrific wisdom, Dr. Meisner and our panelists, Lorena and BJ and Mac. Thank you. Just terrific ideas and perspective from you all. So just on behalf of everyone listening today, thank you. And, Dr. Meisner started that session out about, talking about how you can refuse to participate in a recession. And we would just urge all of you to take that to heart and just realize that there is a lot of opportunity, and keep asking yourself, what opportunities are there now that there weren't a year ago? And that will open up lots of opportunities for you, as the panelists and Dr. Meisner alluded to. So terrific wisdom. Thank you, Dr. Meisner, and thank you again to our excellent panelists. Great perspective. And so want to invite everyone listening today to BNI's 2020 Global Convention. This is going to be the largest event in BNI's history. It's a chance, just like today, for us to come together, learn from each other, and rise above the current situation, to keep growing our businesses so that we can support our families and our communities and the world overall. And you may have heard me say it before, but I think business leaders are really important to the global recovery from the current situation. So we want everyone to be a part of BNI's 2020 Global Convention, and the theme is Powered by BNI. And so we expect thousands, in fact, 25,000 or more business leaders from around the world. We are going to have a fantastic amount of content from world-class speakers, and we really want you to take part in this event and just have a great time and have a chance to create some life-changing relationships. And so we will have state-of-the-art technology, highly interactive event will be happening over 4 days. And so again, great keynote speakers and presenters. There'll be lots of customization for you, a chance to personalize the experience, on-demand viewing, easy scheduling of one-to-ones worldwide. And so that really is a special opportunity, and it will be translated into 16 languages. So we want to make it as accessible as possible for everyone. Great keynote speakers that we'll be announcing, and registration is currently discounted. And so members and visitors can register for just $49, which we hope many of you take advantage of that early bird pricing to access this content and executive level education. And so tickets are available at BNIGlobalEvents.com. So we invite you to check out that site and this upcoming event. I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this event. BNI as a global organization is committed to business leaders around the world, and together we can restart the world. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Dr. Meisner. Thank you all for joining. And until we talk again, we wish you the best. Thank you.